Then when you're a business that knows who their guest is and you hone in directly on who they are, you can provide that experience so much more. So like ours is 3 to 4 generation families in Branson. When they come to Branson, it's all these generations together. So we make sure everything is set up. So this review we just got this morning over on Google Business, it even says, yeah, we had generation X on floor 1 and generation Y on floor 2 and generation Z on floor 3. And it was awesome. So just seeing that feedback come across too is, yeah, we have got our target guest in our place and they adore and love it. And now they're raving fans.
Welcome back to the Bombshell Business Podcast. I am your host, Amber Hurdle, and I'm pretty super excited about today's episode because, as you know, this week is the vacation rental, short-term rental industry takeover week of the Bombshell Business Podcast, which means that I am interviewing rock stars and friends from that industry so that you can learn from them. And why do I want you to learn from them? Not because I'm trying to teach you how to have a vacation rental management company or a vacation rental, maybe like third-party provider type business. It's because I love this industry. I love the people in this industry. I think everybody's big-hearted. They're flexible. They're very fast-paced. There are no like true standards across this industry because there's so many different ways that you can model this business. And I just think that people like that have a lot to offer. Those who are looking for new ways of thinking, maybe might resonate with you because they're authentic and they're going to tell you their struggles and their fears and all that kind of stuff. They're not like, let me tell you how great I am. That's just not how this industry typically rolls, although I'm sure there's some, but not in my circle. But today I get to introduce to you one of my friends. She is someone that I met, I forget. It's been a while. Anyways, she's just someone I connected with. I think we definitely share similar values. We have similar experiences, multiple businesses, moms, wives, all that kind of thing. And I'm just pumped to get to share her brilliance with you today. Let me tell you about my friend, Tyann Marcink Hammond. She is the queen of the guest experience for TouchStay Digital Welcome Books, co-host of the Guestcast podcast, industry leader and consultant. And when I say industry leader, like I'm not even sure I can like put enough emphasis on that. Like everybody knows her, everybody loves her, and she creates experiences for everyone in the industry as well. Let me just put that in her bio. Co-creator of the VR Mastered Vacation Rental Bootcamp, author, speaker, and owner/manager of not one, but 2 vacation rental brands, Branson Family Retreats and Missouri Haus. And let me just tell you, when I used to think about Branson, I would think like country music, entertainment, a similar experience to kind of Nashville meets like Gatlinburg kind of world. But now anytime I hear Branson, I think Tyann. So she also has a super strong personal brand. Welcome to the show, Tyann.
Thank you, Amber. It's so exciting to be here. I've listened to your podcast for ever since I met you, actually. Yay. And I am so excited to be here. And because what the interviews that you have, I love to cross apply from different industries because it's incredible to see what other people are doing. And I think, okay, how can I apply that to exactly what I am doing, and I can grow and I can get better as well. So thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you. And I love that feedback. Sometimes people who don't get it are like, well, what industry do you serve? Or what is it that you're trying, like specifically, what are you trying to teach? I'm like, business, being a confident business person. And so when you unpack lots of different industries and different models and different topics, it all ties in and people can find what serves them. And if they don't want to listen to a particular episode, they don't have to listen to that one. I appreciate. I mean, I'm also not surprised because you're also multi-passionate. So that's another way we connect.
That's true. I mean, I look back and one of my first long jobs, well, you go back, one of my first jobs was McDonald's, and lessons I learned as a teenager applying today, working in that service industry and how to work with people, and then working for the largest jewelry and gift store in Missouri, which was in its third generation, and working for them for over a decade and learning things from that. So then now applying all of those life lessons to now I love it. It's just awesome.
Okay, I did not know those little tidbits about you, but that makes a tremendous amount of sense that you're the queen of the guest experience when you've done both like hardcore service industry and hardcore retail industry. And that's interesting because you're like fast food versus like a high-end product. So let's just kind of dive in. You are one of the many things that I respect about you is you are an amazing communicator. You don't drop balls. You always are ahead of the situation. You always let people know what to expect. You follow up. Like there's a lot of consistency with how you show up. So why is that? And where do you place the value of that in the guest or customer experience?
It's definitely something that I had to learn by mistakes. I failed a lot in communications. And when I figured out how well things went, if I pre-communicated and figured out answering folks' questions before they even happened, gosh, the road became so much less bumpier. It was so much, less difficult to move teams forward and move just business forward, and especially with our guests too. So last year I started counting up how many times I spoke or touched my guests. So I call them touch points. And that came about because I realized I was communicating a lot. So I started counting and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm touching my guests 14 times between a booking and arrival. That's not even including departure. So then with Touch Day digital guidebooks, I have incorporated it with that. And then my reviews started to come in and the guests started talking about how much they love the communication and that we were answering those questions they had at the right moment. So that made me realize, okay, yeah, in a business, you talk a lot about revenue management and ROI. It's like, okay, let's flip this. There's a return on experience. There is communication management. When you communicate with the right message at the right time with the right method, it just changes the whole scope of everything. And applying that to teams and to guests, it's been a learning experience and one that has just dramatically increased our business and our guests. I mean, they're raving about it. And they talk about it in the reviews so much. This week I got another email from a guest saying, hey, we've been on your list for 9 years. I've saved your email for 9 years. We're ready to come back. What do you have?
That's so awesome.
Yeah. And last year it was, hey, we celebrated our dad's 80th birthday. And now 10 years later, 12 years later, we want to celebrate mom's 90th birthday. What house do you have? Our family's grown. So, I mean, it's just like, yes, it's these families and communication plays such a huge part. And it's setting expectations as well. So my favorite quote that I created this at one of my presentations this fall was unmatched expectations is the death of businesses, marriages, friendships, 5-star reviews, and movies. Oh wait, I meant those up. But you know what I mean.
Yes, that is so true. I feel like I saw all or part of that in a social media post one time, and I'm like, yes, yes. And it's interesting because I think, there's a little bit of there's people who come into this industry who really have that hospitality, guest first type mindset as they create their business model, and the activities that they do day to day to support that is very focused on that. Then you have people that are more like real estate focused and they want to automate and they want to like not touch the guest as much as possible. Or then you have the middle of the road who are like, what can I automate so that it feels like high touches and then be available and extra love on them? Like, where do you think that you fall on that? Because you do have Touch Stay, which is a digital, and maybe you can explain what that is. at some point as
Mhm.
well?
Yeah, so I fall very much in the middle. So my personality in growing up, I was not into hospitality. I mean, I'm very, very German. So it's direct and, this is what it is. So I also didn't start automating because I started 15 years ago in this industry with just one property. I literally just had my third son, and I had a baby at home. I got my first cell phone at that point. I didn't have a cell phone before then. So figuring out, well, after a couple times that I forgot to send emails with a code and my guest is standing in the front door calling me and it's 100 degrees outside and they can't get a hold of me. Yeah. And sending them out to pizza and ice cream and apologizing profusely. I finally figured out there are some things you really, really need to automate
Yeah.
because our brains are forgetful, especially when you're a mom. And so I've slowly gone from, to automation as much as possible, but also highly value that personal touch. So we put in as much personal things and giving them information in little bits, because I know my brain and I've learned my brain. I cannot have what people call TLDR, too long, didn't read.
Right.
Your eyes glaze over. It's like, okay, let's drip information a little bit at a time and at the right moment. And a lot of that has to do with our digital guidebook that we use with Touch Stay. And one of the reasons they brought me on as Queen of Guest Experience for them is because it's developing this gorgeous digital piece that anybody can use. We're all about keeping it very simple, easy to navigate. It's beautifully branded to the host or property manager, to the business, because we want to support you. And the more I get into the digital guidebooks and the communications, honestly, your audience, everyone could use a Touch Stay digital guidebook because it is a guide to anything at all. We have folks putting weddings on there, venues. We have a elevator company has a manual on it. We have HOAs using it, schools using it. So it's a way to communicate with folks in a very, very easy way that supports who your brand is and who your business is as well.
Interesting. Now my wheels are turning. We might have to offline in Miami. So also, side note, audience, um, we're both presenting at the Book Direct conference in Miami, but before that, we get to go on a fun excursion with Touch Stay, and we're going on a boat and having a whole extravaganza. Amy was like, "Are you bringing a bathing suit?" I'm like, "I cannot get my hair wet before I'm opening the conference the next morning." So we'll have to have some fun, otherwise in water at another time. But let's so that makes a lot of sense for all the different ways that you've talked about it. How could any business, maybe it's a salon, you're a lawyer, maybe you're an insurance agent. I'm trying to think of a hotelier. I mean, that's kind of an easy one, but I know I have a lot of listeners who are like a service provider. How could they use like your level of communication without draining themselves completely, but still over delivering in that area where that helps build their brand, just the way you and Touch Stay do?
So what I did when I started building out this communication flow was to look back at all the messages I had from previous guests and looking at what questions are they asking me? At what point are they asking me? And then I would go and answer that question right before that point. So being in business over a decade, I had a lot of this. So it's simply the matter of any service provider, look back at when you're getting phone calls from people. What questions are they asking? What are they asking when they book with you? Take that and write out a timeline of when they're doing this, what questions they have. And then you can drip that information right before that. And that can very much be even a frequently asked questions that you're directing them to. That could be hosted on Touch Stay digital guidebooks. That could be hosted on a PDF. Just know that PDFs aren't, you have to zoom in if you're looking on a phone. And a lot of folks are, getting information from a phone. So thinking about the guest journey or your client's journey is a huge, huge part of it, because you want to meet their needs before they even realize they have that need. For instance, if I'm going to get my hair done, I text my gal Amber. I've been with her for over 20 years, and she'll reply with the time that we're going to do, and we set that up. I would love it if she would send me a reminder text. Well, one, confirmation. Yes, you've booked with me. This is when it is. And then maybe a week before, a reminder and a, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you. So being very welcoming, not just a, your appointment is scheduled for blah, blah, blah.
Right.
That's robotic, you know? And when you're in service, you want to make sure your client is, you know, you keep that excitement going.
Feel the
So
love.
yeah, so we're looking forward to seeing you. And then maybe even 2 or 3 days before saying, this is what you need to do to prep. Because even last night I thought about, wait, is this an appointment where I wash my hair before or I keep my hair dirty? And is she going to do cutting first or color first? You know, those types of things start going through my brain. And I would love it if my service provider would answer those questions ahead of time versus me thinking, do I interrupt her? I know she's busy. What's going on? Play it by ear. You know, there's all those little things. If you think about what your client is thinking and you get into their brain and you answer their questions, boy, do they feel seen and loved and welcomed, and you build that loyalty with them.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, I think there's the way that you do that is preemptive. It's, you know, you're anticipating their needs and you're also not sharing information that could also derail them. So let me give you an experience that I had, and no big deal. Like my home builder for my house in Florida, amazing. I mean, it has just been nothing except for this one thing, nothing but awesome. Everybody who works for this national home builder is amazing. Start to finish, every step of the way has been like, why is that so easy? Like, this should not be this easy. And yet it is, because they've just covered everything. They do so much that they just know, except you get to log into this, like, you know, new homeowner portal. And I was getting notifications of like, you need to set up this and you need to set up that. So I call my new home consultant and I'm like, hey, it's telling me I need to do this, that, and the other. I was like, but then I click in and it doesn't let me do it. And he's like, oh yeah, that's just all automated. That's from corporate. And I'm like, you're taking up space in my head. I am clicking on things like, I can only imagine with you being a podcaster and, you know, the icky word influencer and all those kind of things, your inbox probably looks like my inbox.
Yep.
I don't need another email to keep up with, especially when it seems urgent and important, to only find out that you just rented space in my head, to borrow Andrew McConnell's phrase, that did not need to be rented. And so that automation got in the way of this blissful experience that I was having with this national home builder. Now, obviously, they had more deposits than withdrawals, but let's just say that there was another hiccup, and then that being compounded on it is a frustrator. So I love that you're not like automate, and then, you know, set it and forget it. Like, you're being very intentional.
Absolutely. And, you know, another thing, what you just said about more deposits than withdrawals is so important, because things aren't going to go 100% perfectly ever on anything. So you definitely need those deposits of good feelings and good communication so that it counteracts that little bit of withdrawals when something bad happens. Last year, we had a guest who arrived to a house that got missed on the cleaning list. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's only a handful of like true nightmares in vacation rentals. And that is definitely one of them, being the middle of the summer, same day turn. You know, it's a high season week. It's not like they can just, you know, go find someplace else either, which of course we didn't want that to happen. We didn't want to lose the guest, but you know, it's 90 degrees. They've been traveling an entire day in the car. They're ready to just drop their stuff and go to the pool. And it's very frustrating. And so, but with the communication and the interactions we had for the previous 6 months, it actually took care of that withdrawal because of all those deposits. And then at the end of their stay, they made us a homemade coconut cream pie and left it for us.
I just got goosies, like my calves and my shins have goosies on them, because that is, and like, we get so afraid of dealing with our mistakes, especially when it's customer facing. And that's really an opportunity to turn people into, as my friend Brittany Hodak says, super fans. Like, turn that in an opportunity to just like really clobber them with, we're going to make this right. People know mistakes happen. Did you see Laura Madewell's? She's going to be on the show this week as well. Laura Madewell's welcome video that she did for Auntie Bell and Cabins.
I love it.
Bombshell. This is just to kind of recap real quick. So Lauren is the COO of her family business, and I've been nudging her to put herself out there a little bit. And so she's like the most creative, amazing. I don't even know how to describe her, but she films this funny, cute, perfectly on brand, like just perfect for her market and for her style and everything. And she's walking people through like getting to the cabin. And then she admits that, like, hey, sometimes things don't go right. We never want that to happen, but it can happen. And here's all you need to do. And it was just such a fun, loving, playful way that if something did go wrong, I'd be like, Lauren's going to fix it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
How much of that, like, how much of the video, or I mean, I guess you're a lot of written because you use touch stay, but like if you were to walk from a customer experience perspective, if you were to walk somebody through the onboarding of a new customer, a new client, a new guest, a new, hair salon person, what are like the key touch points that they need to have to get that person from I'm interested and I just bought to you're now a customer and you should feel like it?
I'm not quite understanding the question. So as in communications or through signing up for a Touch Day digital guidebook?
Communications in general. Listen, I'm a speaker. Brevity is not my spiritual gift. And I know sometimes I ask really complicated, long-winded questions. So I'm also highest B on the predictive index, which sometimes I'm talking through my question before I arrive at it. So let me synthesize. Okay. This is self-awareness, people. This is self-awareness. So, okay. A person acquires a new customer. Maybe they're buying something from their online retail store. Maybe they became a new customer of a salon or a spa. They're new. Maybe they are a new customer at a boutique and they put in their information. What would you say? Let's just say 3 key touch points should a new customer experience, no matter the business, based on your opinion. And I know I'm putting you on the spot. The 3 things that you should ensure a new customer experiences to make them feel like they are a part of your business family. Is that better?
All right. That's better. Okay. Number 1, it starts before they even become a customer, and that is your about page. You absolutely should have information on your about page and photos, if not video as well, so people know exactly who they're going to be transacting with, that they get to know you, like you, and trust you before they give you the money. And that's photos, videos, name. And I always suggest at least 3 interesting things about you. It could be interesting to them, but not necessarily you. So if you're a crazy cat lady, share you're a crazy cat lady and build those trust points with the other crazy cat ladies, because then they will know you, like you, and trust you so much better. So sharing who you are in a way that you're comfortable sharing is absolutely number 1. The second one is open up the lines of communication. Don't wait for them to try to contact you. You want to contact them first, especially if they've just booked a time with you. Immediately reply, confirm with them, and say, hey, if you have any questions, this is how you get a hold of us. And I always encourage to try to make sure you're using a channel the person, your client, your guest is used to using. Don't introduce another method. Don't ask them to download another app or go to the app store or anything like that. You want to say, okay, this is how you text or WhatsApp, depending upon where you're at. This is how you email, phone call. With our Touch Day digital guidebook, it's not even an app, it's a progressive web app. So it's a link that they access it. And then all that information is there as well. So those 2 are the very, very top things. The number 3, I would say, is being aware of when their questions are going to come, because you've looked back at your history of other clients. So make sure you then answer those questions, but do not send them a TLDR. Too long, didn't read. That's not helpful one bit. So dripping the most important information. So for example, when our guests, this year, we're up to 20 touch points, 20, between booking and arrival. And part of that is opening the conversations with them. But we also, 3 days ahead of time, we send them an email saying, hey, these are the top 3 things you need to know for your arrival. And then there's a text saying, hey, we just sent you an email with the top 3 things, go check it out. And then on same day of arrival, we send the top things right away. So it's right there at the top, because we want to make sure that they know we're expecting them and that we're going to welcome them. So even any service thing, if you've got an appointment that morning, just a simple, hey, we're looking forward to seeing you in an hour. This is where we'll meet you at the red door. Just something so that they know that you are expecting them.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a lot of uncertainty. We're all busy. I mean, shoot, I just recapped for you some of the things happening in my life. Like, the more you can make things easy and safe, and I use that word a lot, and I don't mean like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to die today. Just like, it's safe to do business with you because I know that I don't have to overcommit energy. I don't have to overcommit time. I'm not going to be paying for things that I don't need to pay for. I know that you've got me because you value me as a customer, and I don't have to be on guard all the time. Like, fill me full of businesses and vendors to give money to who do that.
Exactly, exactly. And then when you're a business that knows who their guest is and you hone in directly on who they are, you can provide that experience so much more. So, like ours is 3 to 4 generation families in Branson. When they come to Branson, it's all these generations together. So we make sure everything is set up. So this review we just got this morning over on Google Business, it even says, yeah, we had generation X on floor 1 and generation Y on floor 2 and generation Z on floor 3, and it was awesome. So just seeing that feedback come across too is, yeah, we have got our target guest in our place and they adore and love it. And now they're raving fans.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I've just got to pull this all the way back to branding. And y'all know I'm going to always harp on this, but if you don't have your ideal customer clearly defined, or multiple ideal customer profiles, depending on what type of business you have and how many different types of people you serve, if you don't have that dialed in, you cannot do the things that Tyann is recommending, because you're trying to serve everyone and all of their problems and all the different things that can happen. She just clearly articulated to you who they're targeting and who they're serving. It's not just about marketing or knowing where to target your Facebook ads. It's about the customer experience and understanding. Like me, for example, we deal with a lot of, we are privileged to serve. I've been dealing with cows all morning, y'all. I mean, I just can't. My brain is like in the backfield wondering if I've got cows out there. Anyways, so the thing with our business is we have the privilege of serving people who might consider themselves a lot, quotes there for people not on YouTube. They might feel like they are captain of the hot mess express, definitely ADD, ADHD, if not some other neurodivergent, dyslexic, maybe somewhere on the ASD spectrum. And that's not to say that's all of them, but most of them are risk prone. They're very proactive. They have lots of competing priorities. They're very social people. They're easily distracted. They're not big rule followers. Like, they like to be large and in charge. They have to slow down to remember to tell their team what's going on. Like, we know our person. And so like, we keep at their pace, and we're kind of like you, like, if I send a longer email, it is subject is very clear. If there's a deadline, it's very clear in the body of the email. There's headers that are bolded. It's bullet pointed. Like, we're not making anybody's eyes bleeding. And we're always offering to take things off their plate, because we know that they've got so many plates in the air. And if we can do one thing for them, like, well, we could distribute this to your team for you, as opposed to you having to do it at the end of your laundry list, because we're owning the branding experience for you, So good stuff. Know your people. So you are big on a quote that I love from Maya Angelou. Do you want to share that with us?
Yes. People will never forget how you make them feel.
Yeah.
Yep. They'll forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they will not forget how you make them feel. And that is so important. And it's one of the things I always keep in the back of my head, along with the 5 love languages.
Yes.
And when you put the 5 love languages along with your whole communication flow, and that people remember how you make them feel, to me, that is like the top 3 things to run anything, whether it's your business or your family. It's how you show love to folks.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that was, we connected at the Women's Summit, and then I think you sent me an Instagram message, and everybody knows there's no secret or anything, but like, I literally got the final divorce papers when I got off the stage from opening that conference. Like, it broke through, and my notifications that were turned off because of the person that was sending it had the right to break through. And I got off the stage, I went to my table, I looked at my thing, and it was like, final papers were signed. And I was like, wow. And then you were so kind after the conference, because I did mention that, and not ever to talk disparagingly of my former husband. That's not it. But my reality was that's what was happening in my life. So, you reached out and said, like, been there, done that. If you ever need an ear, I'm here for you. And I was just like, how kind. Like, what? Like, you made me feel like, in all of the chaos that was going on in my life, and you lose so many friends. They're like,
Yep.
I don't know what to do with this mess, so I'm just going to back
Mhm.
away. It's too smelly for me. And like, it's like, you don't have to pick sides or anything, but you lose friends, which is a good thing because you're calling out to where you're going next. But you stepped in a gap that was happening. And it's not like I needed somebody in that moment, but I knew that if I did, you were there. That's just who you are. And I like that person a lot.
Thank you.
So I'm so glad that we've gotten to know each other. And I'm so glad that we get to hang out not only in Miami, and you have to promise me you're going to dance. That's all I'm going to say. No other hints. I have no doubt that you will. Then we get to go to Vegas, and I know I've got your presentations there on my calendar as well. So I'm going to be learning from Tyann over the course of this week that these episodes are airing. And I strongly recommend that you follow her on social media. Check out her podcast. Check out my episode. We talked about my trip to Italy. It was super fun.
Yeah.
And where else can people find you?
So all your favorite socials, at Tyann Marcink is where I'm at everywhere. And then Touch Day is at Touch Day on Twitter and Facebook, and then Touch Day Welcome on Instagram. And I'm around, I'm very transparent, feel free to ask me questions. That doesn't mean I will tell you my answer, but it means I will direct you in the direction that I think would be best. Because, and just like Amber, there's so many things coming at you. You have to be careful what you say yes to, what you say no to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I love it. I love interacting and meeting new people. Oh my gosh, I love it.
You're addicted like me.
I am.
Or I get to unpack a new person.
I know, right? Yep.
Yeah. And then also, she's super active like me on LinkedIn. I say this every single episode. We do business on LinkedIn. So go to LinkedIn and follow Tyann. You'll learn so much from her there, as well as other people who comment on her stuff, because they're all very smart people. Now, before we completely wrap up and I do one more rundown of how to get a hold of you, what parting piece of advice would you give a bombshell, a bold, brave, unwaveringly confident woman in business?
Absolutely. Give yourself grace.
Mm.
Yep. We're not perfect. Give yourself grace. Don't let it run you down. And that is a lesson I absolutely had to learn. And then I was reminded that my name actually means royal grace.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's your constant reminder. Thanks, God.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and I know I'm gushing over Tyann, but if you knew her, you'd love her. And I think one of the other things that I'm drawn to about you is, and not that mushy people are bad, because they're not. And I have my mushy people in my life and I adore them, and they always make you feel like fluffy and fuzzy and great. But you're very sincere, very transparent, very authentic, very always ready to be of service without self-sacrificing, self-betraying, but you're not overly mushy about it. Like, you're very strategic, you're very business oriented. Like, I feel like we mom the same way. I feel like we approach business the same way. We approach networking the same way. Like, open book, I'm here for you. I'd do anything for you. And you're also not going to run me over.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Now the Tyann of 10 years ago was totally different. So walking through several fires in my life has created those boundaries. And I love the person who I am now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, cyber high five for no longer being codependent, sis.
Absolutely.
For having clear boundaries. It does take a fire or four. Well, Bombshell, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I'm even noodling over our own processes. I'm probably going to hammer her a little bit in one of the cities I'm going to be in with to get some other insight or review something. Maybe we'll see. But make sure, again, follow her on LinkedIn. All of this is going to be be in the show notes. So Twitter, Touch Stay is on Facebook and Instagram. Touch Stay Welcome on Instagram. Tyann Marcink. I don't know why I can't ever say that. LinkedIn, both of them. And obviously go to touchstay.com, and we'll try to put in some links too if you want to go to Branson, because you obviously know you're going to have a great stay if you stay at one of Tyann's properties. So thank you for being on the show, Tyann, and for being my friend.
Thank you, Amber. I love that you're my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Bombshell, you know what to do next. First of all, if this spoke to you and you know it can speak to somebody else, please share this episode. Let them get to know Tyann as well. And always think about helping another sister out. Leave a rating and review on whatever podcast listening app that you use, or get on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, all that good jazz, so that more bombshells can find this podcast where we're just giving you strategic advice, cut to the chase. I spared you of my cow story. This is why my hair looks like it does. I have no earrings on and I'm in a t-shirt because that's country life, but that is not something you need to spend your day with. So poor Tyann had to hear all of it, but we do like to cut to the chase. So please share this episode and the podcast in general, and we will see you on the next episode.